Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Warrior Stories podcast, where we deep dive into the unique health journeys of everyday people like you and me. Health is, unfortunately, taken for granted so much of the time, but it's not the default setting for a lot of us. So that's why we are here to inspire people to keep fighting, keep searching for answers, and we want people to know that they're not alone with whatever it is that they're going through. If any of that resonated with you, then be sure to follow, subscribe, whatever the case may be, depending on the platform that you are listening or watching from. That way you will always know whenever we have a new Warrior Story available. Now, today we have a guest that I'm really excited for all of you to be introduced to. Her story is wild, and I think it's one that everybody really needs to hear, because what happened to her could happen to anyone. And I think that there, like we say in our intro every time, there's so much that we take for granted when it comes to our health. And this is such a wild story, and everybody needs to hear this. And it won't be by the time that this episode airs, because we record stuff far in advance because we're very organized and we're always on top of our stuff here at the Warrior Stories podcast. But tomorrow, from the day we are recording, is the 16-year anniversary from her accident, which is really, really, really wild. So our guest today is Tina Vogel. In 2007, so 16 years ago tomorrow, Tina had an accident that resulted in a traumatic brain injury and a complete L1 spinal cord injury. My non-air voice wants to use an expletive to just say how wild that sounds, but this is a family show. I'm going to try and not do that. After a month in a coma, 2 months in rehab, and after weeks of recovery and rest, Tina is now a traumatic brain injury and spinal cord injury survivor. Hallelujah. We're very excited about that. And today, she's spreading the joy. She's spreading the energy. She's working to change and improve the lives of others for the better as a speech language pathologist. And while her ability to walk and to be seen at everyone's eye level have been impacted by her injuries, in her words, she is a more confident person with an outlook and sense of adventure she never had before. Tina, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Hannah.
It's been a wild ride to get here. Our audience won't know, and this doesn't really matter to our audience at all.
Oh, yeah.
We've been trying to schedule this for so long. Like we just kept missing each other. We were just two ships passing each other in the night. So I'm excited that we're here and that we can share your experiences with our audience.
Yes, very much so. I'm ready.
Well, so tomorrow is the anniversary of your accident, which again, it won't be by the time this airs, but who cares? Tell us what happened. What was going on?
So April 30th of 2007, this is when I went to a dinner party with my ex-boyfriend at the time, Justin Thompson, and we go to have a dinner party. And while I was there, it's kind of like, I call this a freak accident, because who knows whenever you're going to, no one knows that they're going to fall out of a window. So here I am, and we go to the dinner, and we had dinner. I had one glass of wine that night at the dinner party.
Just
and
one.
Then we go up to the second floor, and we were showing each other yoga moves. And I was like, oh my God, I was probably showing off. So I brought my left leg to my head. So I'm thinking those two things caused equilibrium imbalance. And that maybe is the sense that whenever I was kind of coming up out of Indian style, I lost my balance and the window was open. And then
oh my gosh.
I go right out the window, and the window had no screen to it. It just popped right out, and I fall out, and then I landed on the back of my head on concrete. My ex, he went into the fight or flight mode, and he was like, wow. So he ends up jumping out the window after me to keep me alive.
Oh my gosh.
Because he gave me about 10 to 15 minutes of rescue breath before the ambulance even showed up. There was a guy at the dinner party who was like, Justin, you should go around to the front, go out the front door and then to her. And he's like, she don't have that time. My brain needed that oxygen. And then whenever I was brought to the University of Louisville, the trauma center there. I was then in a coma for a month, and like, bless his soul. Like, I know that, like, I don't know how someone can live, you know, whenever I'm like in a coma, and he's like, oh my God, I didn't know if I kept her alive to be a vegetable. Sorry.
Oh, well, that's the stuff that you think about. Like, I know that's such a terrifying scenario, but that stuff happens. So
Yeah.
it happened to you, and it can happen
Yeah.
to anyone.
And so sorry, my emotions are starting to get to me.
Well, this was a really crazy thing. You know, like you said, this was a freak accident. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine how this isn't wildly emotional, even
Yeah.
after 16 years. I can't imagine that it softens or it necessarily, you know, gets easier to deal with. Like maybe it does, but in my mind, I feel like it's always going to be very heavy.
Right. Oh yeah. And I think me, like, I'm like a warrior, like you're saying, warrior. Like, I mean, I try to like be as strong as I can because of all the emotions, what got me. Um, and what's given me the most strength is God and Jesus. Like, that's my stronghold right there. Um, they're the ones that were able to get me to where I am today. Um, but I'm here. I've found my purpose, and that is to inspire. And so I want to do all I can to let people know to never give up. I
I
might even write a book someday.
You should. You absolutely should. I will buy your book.
Yeah, yeah, of
And
course.
I know so many other people who would absolutely buy that book and listen to your story and find so much inspiration in it. And I really love that you brought up faith,
Yeah,
because I feel like, you know, whatever it is that you have faith in, you know, if it's religion, if it's, you know, the faith in the love of your family or community, what, you know, whatever it is that you have faith in, I feel like having something to tether you
right,
to living and to not just succumbing. I feel like that's so underrated. And in some ways I think people, like, it's almost like a stereotype, and they're like, "Oh, you know, I relied on this, I relied on this." And I'm like, there's a reason that people say that. It's because it's powerful, and
right.
it keeps us going, and it keeps us fighting. So I'm really thrilled that so many people, including you, relied on their faith, and, you know, they had that rope to life. I think that's
Right.
so beautiful.
Yeah. So I've, even like after before my accident, I guess I should say, like, I've always been a health nut. And it's just magnified since the accident because, of course, now I'm in a different state of living where physically, I have a little bit of a different dilemma than
Mhm.
someone that does not have, health conditions or whatnot, so I have to be more health conscious about like what I'm putting into my body, that's going to um, work for me. And then that's like, I'm just so thankful to have found GLX. Like, I mean, I think I did a little post testimonial for y'all, saying like that this, well, finding something that's like natural is a plus, and finding something that I've actually like been able to lessen my nerve and my inflammation pain, because those
Mhm.
two are the biggest things that I've had to deal with, like nerve pain, which is your buttocks, your tush being on the chair all the time, and then your inflammation where they end up fusing my spine back together.
Oh
So those
gosh.
two things I have to endure every day. And like, yeah, some certain products that I've gotten, like I've done like massages or essential oils. I've even like bought like inflammation products like Up Wellness, like their Golden Revive or Sarai, which is like dropped underneath your tongue, and it helps like decrease inflammation. But it always seemed like in my mind it just came back, like the pain. And I believe the nerve pain was like the most problem to me because it just is. Like, it feels sometimes like when I'm sitting on my chair, I'm like, a hole is in my butt. And I mean, and then it's crazy. But there's some people, I tell people, I'm like, what kind of feeling is it? I'm like, well, it's burning. Like I have a burning sensation. Like, and then that's probably why I'm always like up and like dancing, moving around in my chair. And I always see
You
my
got to.
people, I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine like if you sat like all day, like how is your body gonna feel? Like it's going to be insane. You just like when people go on a road trip and they can't sit in the car for very long, right? You need to get up and stretch and move. And so I've always been like a big like that's why I love dancing, and I'm like always moving. I'm always like moving around because I have to. You're moving because being sitting in that position like 90 degrees, it's gonna give you so much more inflammation or just stiffness. And I'm like,
Yeah, and
all right,
one, your lymphatic system has a harder time moving stuff around, and when your lymphatic system is, really stagnant, it makes inflammation even worse.
oh yeah,
So I can only imagine. I
yeah.
I
Sorry,
have a
go ahead.
couple. No, you're good. I think we're both very chatty people. So at any point, if you are like just need to interrupt me, go for it. I will not
Oh,
be
I think
offended.
okay. Thank you for that.
I will
Thank you.
not be offended. I have a couple weird questions. I guess they're really not weird questions. I don't know why I phrased it that way. One, can you talk about any of your mobility aids?
This episode of the Warrior Stories podcast is made possible by Haka Life Nutrition. Haka Life Nutrition believes in a whole body health approach, from a strong mindset, making smart food choices, encouraging daily exercise, and supporting your body with quality supplements. Haka Life Nutrition produces quality of life supplements that support your joint health, support your muscles, keep your heart healthy, and keep your brain active. Head to hakalife.com/warrior to learn more and get exclusive discounts. That's hakalife.com/warrior. All right, now let's get back to the good stuff.
So I've had the manual wheelchair that I'm in now. Her
Mhm.
name is Daisy. I name
Oh,
everything that sees my butt
she
because
sounds gorgeous.
well, you know what, you give it a name and then that becomes more meaningful, and so then maybe that object would not break down. I
Ideally.
so I've had this is like my fifth or sixth chair. I mean, I've had like Spaz, which was the very first chair I got from the hospital once I got out of the hospital, and then I've had like Ty and Maria and Blossom and now Daisy. Um, the one I had the most like I was for 6 years, and it was whenever I raced wheelchairs, and a guy named Marty Frierson, he met me down there well, they're in Louisville, Kentucky, and he was the coach for the rugby team for Texas rugby team or whatnot. And so he he measured me there at that little rugby thing that they had, and he's like, "You're gonna be you're pushing too far out." Like, so I was like pushing on my wheels, and he goes, "You're gonna be hurting your shoulders." So like that's when he ended up making me Maria, the chair I had for 6 years, and that one, and like so it's so important to like of like the chair you're in or whatever it is, right? Because even like when you're saying I no, you said mobility thing. I also have standers, so like I stand like easy stand 5,000. I stand like 2 to 3 hours a day because I've got to keep my bones dense and strong
Mm.
because I'm preparing for the day when there's going to be a medical breakthrough and
Yep.
I will get to walk again someday, or have the nerve connections like because whenever the doctors ended up fusing my spine back together, they couldn't intertwine the nerves,
Mm.
so I really feel like there's going to be something out there, and when that day comes, I'm going to have my body prepared for it to like I'm going to have strong muscle tone or muscle mass or whatnot, from
Man, I
prepared.
love that. That's such a phenomenal outlook. I love
Well,
that so much.
oh yeah. Well, I'm Miss Positive. And I say that like it's not funny. I mean, what is funny? But that's not funny. It's great. I think that like just a negative thing will come to me in my life, right? And I have to like I turn it around in like 5, 2, 3. Like I turn it around so quickly, and I think it's only because every day I listen to like positive like inspirational speakers like Mel Robbins, or I listen to a lot with Stephen Furtick, him too, but there's Les Brown and there's all of them, right? And I've listened to it. Like there's one Mel Robbins, she's got the 5-second rule. Oh my God. Like now when everyone comes up to you and they're like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, oh my God. I say to them, I'm like, I go, just do this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then just say, I'm energetic. Or like you can change your mind because you can trick it. It's all about trickery. And people don't understand how like you can really trick your mind and you don't have to get sick. Like people talk themselves into being sick. Like if you just don't talk about sicknesses or like things, I mean, you can really stay clear of that. I just try to like be so positive and like keep my mind as positive as it can be.
Well, and I feel like you're really onto something too, because especially when it comes to like, obviously there's some stuff we can't trick our minds out of, but there's a surprisingly large amount that I feel like we can, because that's something that I kind of use the 5-second rule too. You brought that up and I was like, oh, I do that because sometimes I'll just be in a bad attitude or something. And I'll give myself, like 30 seconds to just really feel it and just kind of wallow. And then I'm like, all right. And I do like a really loud clap, like something just like really loud. And I'm like, all right, we're turning it around. It's going to be a good day.
So you clap yourself out of it.
I do. Like I need some sort of just like loud kind of vibration or something. And I'm like, all right, new energy, new vibration. We're doing this. So
that's good. I like that. I like that.
I really connect with that when you said that. But it also made me laugh so hard when you talk about naming your mobility aids and all your equipment. Because I have I don't necessarily have mobility aids right now, but I have a parasol that is like high, like really, really UV protectant. I have really photosensitive issues. So like I get really sick if I'm out in the sun for a long time. Right. So I invested in this like really beautiful parasol that looks kind of like it's kind of ornate and kind of gothic looking. Like it's a mood. It's a whole look. And I named it Morticia. And so whenever I'm like going out, I'm like, oh, let me grab Morticia. Like it's a piece of equipment. It's something that helps me, manage my day. It improves my quality of life. But I'm like, it's my friend. It's a part of me. It's a part of who I am. It helps. So that act of like naming it and like that personification, it's shockingly helpful. So you brought that up and I hadn't even thought to ask you that. That's so funny.
Well, like think about like when people like when they get in and out of their car. I mean, mine's Gracie, Gracie. So it's like, and I always say whenever I get in and out of her, I'm like, thank you, Gracie, for getting me from point A to B safely and securely. I don't know, like I've just been naming. I'm a namer. Like,
well, I think it's something that everybody does kind of subconsciously. Like I know a lot of people name their cars. A lot of people name I think my boyfriend has probably named the lawnmower, if I'm being honest. That's a little goofy to me, but to each their own.
The thing is, maybe they like you're saying subconsciously, like it's like in their mind, but they don't like express it. They don't like say it out loud, like for someone to hear them or whatnot. I mean, you can communicate it, right?
Yeah.
I think what's great is about like my accident. I have been able to develop like I don't care what anybody thinks of me, because who's the only one that can make me the happiest? Right here.
Yeah.
My mind, because my mind, like another person, a peer, father, mother, any person, right, to you, like they can like give you a little bit of encouragement or love or support, right? But the most is from me, like and I don't know, I think I've told you that, like, even like I love my family, friends, they've done so much for me, love, but the most I've ever gotten is from God and Jesus. And that's just like the truth, because I don't know, like I'll always have them, like, because you can't, sometimes you just feel like you can't really rely on all these other people that don't even know what my situation is like. But like God and Jesus, I mean, Jesus, he died on the cross for us, and like he had to go endure pain. I sometimes live that I'm like, oh my God, if Jesus can do this, I can do it too. Like I'm like, oh my God, I can be in pain just like he did. So I'm like, and so then I talk myself into being Jesus. Like I'm like, I can do what he can, So that helps me like overcome my pain. And a lot of times, like when I was racing wheelchairs, like you have to like, I almost, fight the pain. Like I'm almost like, no pain, no gain. So I'm like, whenever I would race, I was in pain a lot. Like, I mean, the position that you had to be in, I was in a lot of pain and I was like literally fighting through it. I was like pushing through it. So, like, on my day to day, before finding this GLX, right? I mean, I don't know, like, I just sometimes I'm like, how did I do? How did I live? Like, I'm like, man, my mind is really strong to like overcome all the pain that I've endured. But here's the kicker. I am like, I can't handle like a shot or like even like a prick or anything. Like
You're
very
like,
like
that's where I draw the line.
or like
Yep.
if you have like a splinter in your hand, I'm like, and like, or if you have to like get some like, because that hands are really where a lot of the nerves are.
Oh yeah.
I can't handle that pain. But I think it's just because like I've really um adapted to my pain, like my nerve pain and inflammation pain. That's much more maybe harder. I don't know if it's harder, but I mean, it's different. I'm like, I can't handle like the littlest pain.
Well, I think something that a lot of people who maybe have never had any sort of traumatic injury or any sort of chronic illnesses maybe don't understand is there are many different types of
Types of
pain.
pain. Yeah.
And I think that people don't always talk about like the mental load of
Oh yeah.
discovering different types of pain. And I think that's kind of terrifying. And also it's the kind of thing that it's terrifying when you discover a new type of pain, like whether it's nerve pain or inflammatory pain or acute pain from something, a cut or an abrasion or something. And you're like, oh gosh, there's something else. There's something else that's going to cause me pain. There's something else that's going to hurt in some way. But it's also, look what else I've overcome.
Yeah.
Look what else I've gone through and survived through. And I've my days of surviving so far have been 100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's so heavy, but it's also the kind of thing that when you come out the other side, you're like, I did that. I withstood it. I could take it. And I feel like so many people who have traumatic injuries or things that have continued to cause them mobility issues or pain issues, um, they're some of the bravest, strongest people I know. Like,
Yeah.
and mentally, emotionally, you can't phase them because
Yeah.
they know what they can do. And I
Mhm.
think that's so powerful.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of like being a speech therapist and working with others, I have felt that like whenever you have to like, so I'm rehabbing them, right? Like I'm helping them with their swallowing or their cognition. Like me coming in and working with them, it actually sometimes helps me like overcome my pain. Like, because, well, whenever I have my patients, I have them like let's say they having to say a K or a G and like three times, and I'm like, I'll be like, what, two, three, like so I'm like bouncing, and someone was like, what are you doing bouncing? And I'm like, well, I need to because pain. Like I just need to do pressure release. But I feel like sometimes when you communicate with another, it really kind of like I don't know, like it kind of like backtrack or it kind of like takes away your pain. Like what's the word for it? Like it's just like this um kind of like puts it to the side, like you're not focusing on so much. So it's all about focus. Like if you can focus on something else, like another person talking like we are right now, when you can focus on that, your pain is just like it's not even there. Like it's kind of like sitting back on the side, like like you don't think about it so much. But like whenever it's when you're alone and or you I don't know, it helps to be around people,
I like that. I like that.
like
Well, and
because like
I go
your
ahead.
focus, it's all your focus. Like you're not so focused on your like mind of the pain, and if you have someone else around you to occupy your mindset, that's going to help like diminish that pain more than if you were just alone and to think about it and contemplate about the pain.
I love that. Well, and I feel like it's really easy for people to dismiss the idea of like, oh, well, people recover faster, or they feel better when they have loved ones around, when they have family, when they have friends.
Hmm.
It's so true. It's,
Right.
even if it's not necessarily, literally healing you, it helps your mind, it helps your outlook, it helps your spirit, it helps your energy, and all of those things are aspects of the self, and they're aspects of your journey towards healing, whatever that healing might look like, and it might be different for everyone. So
Right.
I think there's something to be said for connecting with people, whether it's, your physical therapist, or someone at work that you're working with, or friends or family or community. Like, it's underrated.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know, like when it was on July 27th of 2007, that was when I was released from the hospital from those 3 months of long enduring, hospital stay from that for the 2007. And like, we were getting like, doctors give out pills, the medicine pills or whatnot for you to go home with. And Justin was there with me, and I go, Justin, because I think it was called lever Leverpro or so. I don't even know how to say the name, but it's Levido, whatever it is. But it's an. I go, Justin, what is this for? And he goes, depression. And I was like, I go, you can put that right down the toilet right now. I'm like, I will not be taking depression medicine. Like, I was like, I have my family, friends, loved ones to be there for me. I mean, so if I didn't have that, then I mean, but I it's funny that we talk about substance right now, like, but like what I've had to, well, I've kind of like, I had kind of did, I would drink like red wine at dinner time. And then that actually helped decrease my pain, so much. I mean, I didn't become like that much of a wino, but like I would have like a glass of wine, like maybe this much of wine a night, and then there was times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I might be drinking too much. So then like I do it like 4 to 5 days instead of like seven, and um, but but now like because I have the GLX, like it has literally like I don't have to like being on my butt for 8-9 hours a day at work, and then I come home, I'm like, I don't have to have a glass of wine because my pain level is already lessened enough
That's
because of
awesome.
GLX.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's not necessarily something that, like, we talk about all the time. Well, I don't know. I talk about it all the time, and I talk about it with everyone I interview. Um, whatever people have to do to feel better mentally or physically, whether it's depression, anxiety, or if it's physical pain,
Mhm.
acute, chronic nerve pain, whatever kind of pain it might be, um, whatever people have to do, sometimes you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is taking, a prescription medication from your doctor. Sometimes it's, having a socially acceptable glass of wine every night. And
Right.
sometimes it's finding the right nutrition and supplements and activities, whatever it is that helps you feel better physically, emotionally, mentally. Like, that's what you got to do.
Oh
And that
yeah.
looks different for everyone. So I'm so excited that the GLX3 supplement that Haka Life Nutrition has created has done such wonderful things for you. That just thrills me so much.
I'm so glad to have an open mind whenever I saw, like any more of these, you see everything on Facebook. So like I saw this ad and, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's a no brainer. Like, I mean, even though it's like what, a $60 bottle or whatever it is, I only had to pay $8.95 for shipping and handling. And I was like, and then even if it didn't work, I would get that money back within 90 days. And so I was like,
Oh yeah.
this
Gotta
is
love that money back guarantee,
a
baby.
no-brainer. Like, so, and then I ended up emailing Andrew, the co-founder, and asking him, because I was like, okay, I do have a little bit of my chronic pain that I've been in since '07 is chronic, and I've had it for a long time. So I was like, I just wanted to get his suggestion and his advice about the the amount I should take.
Hmm.
And that's when he ended up telling me that I should take like two, like double dose it. So I guess on the bottle it says like 2 capsules per day.
Hmm.
And so then he ended up telling me to double dose it. So like in the morning I ended up taking like two in the morning, and then I took two at night And then I did that again the next morning, and then boom, like that was like the holy, like, what? Like I was just like blown away. And then that's when I was just like, I reached out to him, and then he's like, will you do a testimony? I was like, yes, I will. This needs to be, see, and I don't know, like, here's like, I have had, pain for 16 years of this, but I feel like, I don't know if my pain is magnified because I'm '09. So like '07 is when my accident happened. And then '09, my mom and I ended up going to Tijuana, Mexico, and I had stem cells, umbilical, not the embryonic, which is more pluripotent, but I had umbilical stem cells, and that awakened my nerves. And I feel like it awakened them. So like that's right. Like I can't even do CBD, like CBD oil or CBD anything. Like, and you know how they say that helps with pain? Not me. Like because it actually magnifies my nerves. I can't do it. So I actually like I can't do the CBD stuff anymore. So I stick it. So yeah.
Well, I
Sorry.
think no, you're fine. Don't worry. I think that's such a powerful testament to not everything works for everyone. And,
yeah.
and you have to just try a little bit of everything until you find what's right for you. That was one of the other things I wanted to ask you. What sorts of lifestyle things have helped you with pain, with mobility, or just with your mental health through all of this?
I would say being active. Like, so I raced wheelchairs for 7.5 years.
Which is awesome. Sorry, I just have to throw that out there. That's so cool.
Well, the thing is, like, so I think a lot of times I've found people that have a spinal cord injury, whatever you're doing before that accident, you're going to like magnify, or you're going to do more of it, or, in a different sense. Like, so person that becomes paralyzed from a skiing accident, they're going to go and be like a really good skier, like out there, on the slopes, or, someone that dive into water and they end up breaking their back or neck. They're going to go in swimming, and so I was doing 5K and 10K races before the accident. And then it also helped because my ex-boyfriend, he was a cross country runner in high school and college. So he actually, he didn't push me, but he kind of like helped me like make that decision to like go and do racing. And then that's what actually I started racing like in my everyday chair. Like I went and I pulled up to like the Kentucky Derby, like from the line, like your starting point, the starting line, and all the like people, there was like 8, 9 other guys in racing wheelchairs along beside me, and I was like the only one in my only manual chair. And so I'd go with them, and then they ended up, his name was Matt, and he ended up asking, he's like, do you want one of these? I was like, yeah.
Yes.
So
please.
National Wheel Cats spotted me, and then they ended up sponsoring me, for
that's lovely.
So. And that, like, when I stopped racing in 2017, it was because like I had like some nerve impingement that was waking me up at night, and I ended up going to a chiropractor for like 6 months, and he took my C1, C2 he goes, you have a reverse banana, like, so apparently you're supposed to have a curve, and mine was like this. So I ended up having to go through that 6 months. And I realigned and put a curve back into my spine by like, I held like a 20, 30 pound ball like this for like 20 minutes, and it woke up my nerve. Whoa, that was intense. But I actually was able to put a curve back in.
Oh, wow.
And so now like I'm not having the impingements and like waking up at night in the middle of the night. So that's good. But I, like doing that like repetitive motion all the time, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's not going to be the best to like continue to do that on my arms. Like, I don't want to ruin them. Like, I need them,
Yeah.
So actually, like, I stopped racing in 2017, and then I went and I did rock climbing. Like, so I would go out and go rock climb like the gym. And that was when I lived out in Boulder, because there's more out there,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, I'm in a transition. So I'm not in this spot that I could do all those things, but I will. I'll get back to it.
I love that about your spirit. I feel like there is this idea that when you get such an intense injury, you're done. You're not gonna be athletic anymore. You're not gonna be active anymore. And I just love that everyone that I have spoken to who has that level of intense injury where it's just life altering,
Oh yeah.
everyone I've spoken to is like, no, I'm still active. No, I still do a lot of that stuff. Like,
Heck yeah.
why would I
But
not?
but here's the thing, there are some people though, and it's sad that like will really get down and cannot. But like I don't know, sometimes it's like who you're around or who pushes you. Because like first off, like Justin, he put like there's my friends and family. They're like, Justin's being really mean to you. I'm like, well, you know what? I fell in the back of my head. Well, and then it affected my prefrontal cortex. And that initiation. Are you kidding me? Like, I mean, he had to push me. He like took me to the bathroom. He helped me for the like in the beginning of it all, and but then he's just like, "Nope, you're gonna do it on your own." So like he literally like there's one time when he just like left me on the pot. He's like, "You gotta do it," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" So like I needed to be pushed.
A little bit
You know,
of
like,
tough
I
love.
needed someone to give me the thing saying like I gotta do it on my own. Like it's do or die. Like I have to do it. So it was really good to have someone give me that like push, like you need the push,
Well, I feel like that goes back to what you were saying earlier about how it's you.
Oh,
You are
yeah.
the one that has to comfort yourself and give yourself strength and provide yourself that inspiration. Obviously, like the connections we have with other people and getting help from other people, there's nothing wrong with that. But
No.
at some point you're gonna be on the toilet and you're gonna have to get yourself off the toilet.
But,
It's
but you know
you
what I
got to
was
be the
saying?
one.
That's like that God and Jesus are right there with me. Like
Mhm.
they're giving me the strength, like, and yes, a person can, but I mean, I don't know, like I have so much faith in God that like he kept me alive. Like, so January is my birthday month, right? 1. And then 4 is the 430 is like and so I was like, this is like I was born in this world on the 1st, and then the 4th, I was born on January 4th. So like 4th, and then 1 and the 4, and like 4, this is the month of 4, and it's the month of like my second chance in life. Like
Oh, I
God
love that.
blessed me to have another chance to inspire, I guess. Like so I'm like, oh my God, I think I found my purpose. And yeah, did I have to? But like I find it from like what happened to me. Maybe like everyone has a story, and this is my story. Like so. I want to like inspire so much. Like I feel like it's there. Like I will. Like I want so many because there's a lot of people in this world that give up. And
This episode of the Warrior Stories podcast is made possible by Haka Life Nutrition. Haka Life Nutrition believes in a whole body health approach, from a strong mindset, making smart food choices, encouraging daily exercise, and supporting your body with quality supplements. Haka Life Nutrition produces quality of life supplements that support your joint health, support your muscles, keep your heart healthy, and keep your brain active. Head to hakalife.com/warrior to learn more and get exclusive discounts. That's hakalife.com/warrior. All right, now let's get back to the good stuff.
God, has a life for us all. Like we shall all find, like something that we can enjoy, like I enjoy like being active. Like I was saying, like, cause whenever you like the high endorphins that you get from being active and just, I don't know, like and when I race, I had to push through the pain and whenever I dance all the time and I love to dance. So I'm moving all the time. I'm just like moving constant, and just like, that's what helps me, with the pain that I have to endure, I want to overcome it. So like,
I feel like you are the image of that. And I love so much when you talked about, this is my second chance, my second birth, essentially.
Mhm.
And I think that it would be so easy for people to look back on an event like that and say, like, this is when everything went downhill, or this, why did this happen? And you're like, no, this is my second chance at life.
Yeah, you know what it
And I
is?
love that.
I've found your attitude is the only thing that matters this most. Your attitude about anything, any circumstance that you have to endure, it's your attitude. You choose to either live negatively about it or positive about it and like move forward. If you want to stay negative, that's only going to bring you downhill. And I'm going uphill. And
Yes.
so whenever I walk again, I told myself, like, I have a tattoo on my right arm. And so the next one I'm going to get is a phoenix.
I
It's
love that.
rising from the ashes.
There we go.
Yeah,
I
I'm
love
going to
that
get
so much.
it.
All right. I'm a little obsessed with your personality. I just like
Oh, good. Because
you
like I'm
have this
just chill.
infectious energy. Like I had kind of a weird morning. Like I woke up this morning and I was having a lot of like inflammatory pain this morning, and I just like, you know how it is sometimes when you're just like your whole body is just inflamed and you just want to curl up. And so I did all my like my yoga and all the stuff that I can do to like move my body around, and I did my little clapping thing like before we got started.
Oh yeah.
And now that we're talking, I'm just like, you know what? She's right. This is great.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay. So I thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I wish we could like meet. I'm so sorry. I don't even know where you're at. I'm like, let's like have a hug.
Well, I know we're in the same time zone, which was very exciting when we were scheduling stuff. So,
Yeah.
well, and everyone that I have talked to on this podcast, it's just the coolest people. It's all the people who have fought, who, you know, it's warriors. It's people who have overcome things, who have gained strength through adversity, who have discovered strength within themselves that they didn't know they had. And everyone that I speak to, I'm so moved, and you
I
are
would
part of
love
that
to have
group.
your job. I would love to have your job. That's like the coolest. I mean, just to get to listen to people's stories, because you know what? We all inspire each other at some level, right? Like, I mean, listen to this person's story or this person's story. I mean, like, it just lets you know, like, how that we can't take life for granted. That
Yep.
we in here, like, I work on people's minds, right? Like I love working on the minds because I feel like sometimes people take their minds for granted. Your brain. Like I work with a lot of demented people that are demented, and it's really hard. Like I'm just like, oh, like it just how and I tell people I'm like, I don't take things for granted. Like I can't take going to the bathroom for granted. I can't take eating for granted because like I didn't eat for those months, you know, for a while, and like I've been G-tubed and trached and things like that. Like it's just I've been inspirational to a lot of my geriatric population, but I want to inspire more than just them. I want to inspire people like my age, my parents, young kids, anybody, you know.
Well, you're part of the warrior family now, so you're part of our little group. You're part of the Haka Life
Yeah,
family.
good,
You're
good.
part of the Warrior Stories family. So you're in here. You're here for
Nice.
life.
Oh, nice. Well, you know what? I was on Spotify for a little while, and I now have like what I think I'm listening to Amazon Radio right now, and I was like, I gotta get Spotify back because I get Spotify on there because I'm like, I want to hear me.
Yep.
I mean, hear our conversation. I'm so sorry.
No, you're no, you can just listen to you. That's fine. It doesn't offend me. All right, I have two final questions, and then
Okay.
I swear you can enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll quit bugging you.
Yeah.
After going through everything that you've been through, you know where everything started and where you are today. How does it feel to look at the progress that you've made to be where you are today?
I'm just overwhelmed at times, you know, because like thinking back of like how I was in '07, '08, '09, you know, even like, because I was just, this is one of the things I say, it took me like 8, 9, 10 years to become mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually norm for myself because we all have our own norm, right? For
Mhm.
well-being. And it took me 8, 9, 10 years for me to find that. Like, I mean, you know, because like when you go through a spinal cord, like you lose an ability. I mean, you lose, like you get the jealousy world, and I'm like, oh my God, God allowed me to not be jealous. I will, because that's negative. That's negativity right there, right? So I'm like, nope, cannot be jealous. Like, and so you had to like go through all of that, like, because I know my ex-boyfriend, he took me to the park, like I was about to be discharged, like within like a couple weeks. He brought me to the Louisville park, and I was like, it was great because we got to go around the park that I used to run in, and I would go there and like I got to see a lot of people run, and that was really emotional for me, like having to like be in the new state of paralysis and not to know like that I'll get to enjoy that, you know. And so
Mhm.
it's just it's amazing. Like I just it's like when I say that it's like 9, 10 years, I just it really and here's another one. Timing will heal you. Like,
Oh yeah.
just emotionally, all of it. Time is what we need. So I say, like, time heals us. That's it. Like, that's all you need is time. And you know what? There's a lot of people that don't have patience in this world. It's, like, so, like, that's probably why one of the little, I talked about patience and how that's a big factor that has developed from, my accident. So
I think that makes sense. I think it would be strange if patience wasn't part of the process.
right. I mean, because, like, it takes me like 5-10 minutes to just be clean, like, for myself in the bathroom, versus, like, because we have other things that we have to worry about. Not worry about, I should say, burden about. Like,
All right. And then last question. What would you tell someone who is maybe just now gone through a similar traumatic injury as you, and they're at the start of this journey? What would you say to someone?
a little bit of that is, I would tell them, of course, that to not allow all the things that you have to endure right now be like the end all of everything, because then I would, of course, explain to them how I was like 16 years ago. First, when I just started to become, that first year I was paralyzed, like how I got like 6 or 7 different UTIs because I was putting the catheter in the wrong hole.
That'll
So,
do
I
it.
mean, so I had to endure like, UTIs. And so, like, a lot of it's like enduring, like, and how you endure it. Like, if you want to endure it with negativity or positivity. And I would let them know that, like, you have to, like, head up, head strong. Like, you have to be strong in this because so that you can endure all these things that you have to, that come your way. The newness of it all. And here's the thing, like, we live now in our chairs, and so that's a different way of living. Oh, and there's a beautiful book I read one time, like something about difference is beautiful. Like, so we are different than everyone else, right? Because we are living in a chair and whatnot, and we look different in that little stance. But don't let that affect you. Don't let another person affect you, like how you are, how you
Absolutely.
should be. So.
I love that. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed our conversation. This is just
Hey,
this
don't
is this has just like raised my vibrations. Like, this has just brought me so much joy. And there's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that it has had the same effect for our listeners. So
yes.
thank you so much for
Yes.
taking the time to speak with me and to share your story.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
Mainly I would say Facebook.
Okay.
I do have Facebook, but I do have Instagram because I know what Instagram and Facebook are kind of like connected.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll drop a link for those down in the description. So if anybody wants to follow along on Tina's journey and support her, definitely click those links and give her a follow.
you can be my friend too because I said more the merrier.
Yeah, there you go. It's all about that community.
Yeah.
That wraps up this episode of the Warrior Stories podcast. If any of our audience is interested in learning more details about any of our warrior stories, head on over to hakalife.com/podcast. And if you or anyone you know has a story that we should be sharing with other people, be sure to comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or shoot us an email at warrior@hakalife.com. That wraps it up. Thank you, everybody, so much for sticking around. Don't forget to subscribe or follow. Thank you so much, Tina.
Yeah, thank you so much, too. I'm glad we were able to make this happen.
Me too. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. Bye.